All right, guys, in today's video, we're going to do the full installation of the Dirt Specialties CanAm X3 Max full doors. I'm going to walk you through step by step so you guys have an idea of what it takes. All right, guys, the first step we're going to do in installing the Dirt Specialties doors is we are going to unhook the limit strap from the actual door. So we're just going to drill out this rivet right here. We're going to get that all drilled out. I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to keep the limit strap in place because I plan on using the limit strap with the new doors. You could also come up with another solution if you wanted, but I feel it's best just to use that limit strap for this point. So we're going to get that drilled out and go from there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these two bolts. What I am using is a 13mm socket. It does say in the instructions you can use some heat on this to warm it up to help. I'm just going to use my impact gun and see how that works, just to kind of break them loose quickly. So I'm going to start by doing that, and we'll see if we need to add some heat, and we'll kind of go from there. So one thing I want to let you guys know of is I did accidentally break off one of the welded nuts. This nut actually goes on the back right rear door on mine. Goes right under there. Okay, there's the front one. The back one is popped off. Now, Dirt Specialties does talk about being careful not to break these off. You know, I used an impact gun, which can be a little bit aggressive. I just wanted to avoid trying to get heat in there. What you could do if you want to use the impact gun is get in there with a socket or a wrench. Specifically, a 12mm is what will go right onto that nut. It's sort of a square nut. So I'm just going to use the 12mm to get it back on. So I should be good to go. It'll be a little bit of a hassle because I'll have to reach in with the wrench as I'm tightening everything down. So if you use a little heat, it'll come off easier. If you want to use the impact, just again, put a 12mm on there before you do that, and that should help prevent that situation. All right, guys, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to remove this door here. So we're just going to unscrew that guy out, pull it off. This guy pops out, and we are going to uninstall the hinge. There's a little screw right there that goes through, or not the hinge, but the latch. So we're taking this latch and we're going to remove this, and this is going to get installed on the new door. Hi guys, here's the factory latch. So it just was these two screws that came in from this side. They were pretty easy to get to. One of the things that I used was just a little extension handle to get down inside this last one. The other one I just used my drill. It came right out. So we're going to take this and we're going to install this on the new door frame because it does use the factory latches and your factory strap. All right, so I've got the latch installed here with these two bolts. They just go in the opposite side. When you took it off the factory door, they came out of that side. So I've just got them snug right now. These can be loosened, and then this latch can be adjusted to be able to fit correctly. All right, so next we are going to set up the handle. So we'll put that on here in just a moment. All right, guys, a quick note on installing the handles. You really want to follow the instructions and take your time to make sure you get everything right. They have a shot of the order in which everything goes. I've already put on my stop, which is basically going to work as the spring stop. One thing I'll note is when you do this, there is a shoulder bolt that comes up through this, this tab that's welded onto the door frame. The powder coating does get inside here, and you'll want to drill that out. I used a drill bit, if you can see here, that's pretty much the same size. I just kind of worked it around a little bit. You don't want to make this any larger than it's supposed to be so it fits correctly and nice and tight. So I'm going to kind of put all this together and then show you the order once it's assembled of how it goes. Again, just reading the instructions and taking your time will make sure we get this just right. All right, guys, I got the door handle mostly installed. I want to show you a couple things. So this is what it looks like when it's completed. You have your stop here, which is adjustable. You have a long shoulder bolt and a short shoulder bolt. The short shoulder bolt is just the bolt and a nut. It's kind of hard to see right there. This is the top one. The top one is going to go just like this. It's going to go, the long shoulder bolt goes through the tab, then a nylon washer, then the handle frame, another nylon washer, and then the spring. Again, no washers on the stop, this smaller shoulder bolt. Again, you will need to remove a little of the powder coating out to get this to work. It springs back and forth real nice. Now on my strap, I want to show you something. Look how oblong that hole is. it's been stretched out pretty bad. So mine does not actuate. So like it talks about in the instructions, I'm going to put a bolt through here. Another thing you might want to consider even doing, I haven't looked into it, but my straps are pretty worn. Because again, mine's a 2018. We're just in the beginning of 2020 now. So they've gotten quite a bit of use. So it would be a cool idea to just buy some fresh straps at the time that you're doing this. I'm going to go ahead and just take the slack out by bolting this in with a bolt. But basically, you're going to want to address this. You might have no problems at all. I'd say start with it first. If not, drill out the rivet, replace it with a bolt, which puts a little bit more tension on this. Okay? Okay, guys, so here's the finished product for the handle. So I've just put a little 1024 bolt and a couple washers through, tightened it down. If you look closely, you can see the gap right in there because it's, again, this is all stretched out. So a new handle would work well, or you can do the bolt situation like I did. And you can see here, once you get it latched, you just pull up and it works perfectly. Got your spring tension. You got a stop here so you can keep it from going back too far so that this comes off. So they did a nice job in designing this. It looks real clean. I'm looking forward to getting this installed and seeing how it works. And again, I'm probably going to replace these straps. If you have new straps, this probably won't be an issue. Just be prepared that you might have to drill this out and do a nut and a bolt. One thing you don't want to forget to do is after you get your latch all set up is you got to install these dust caps. These are definitely things that you need to do while the frame is off, because you need to hammer them in with a little mallet. There's one on the back side as well down in here. And again, if you get the door on, it's going to be very difficult to get on. So make sure you install these before you install your doors. All right, guys, so before you install the door on, you've got the top and then the bottom pin that it sits on. You're going to clean these off with some sandpaper or a file to make sure there's no burrs. You put fresh washers on it. You really only need the washer for the bottom replaced. The top one you can replace as well if you feel like you need to. And then you want to grease these. So I used a marine grade grease that I put on there, lithium grease. Any of those will work. So make sure everything kind of moves nice and smooth. So again, do this before you put your door on and you'll be good. Okay, guys, so I greased the lower pin. I greased and cleaned up the top pin and put that on. You go ahead and you slide it down on this pin. It takes a little bit of force to get it on there, not too bad. And then I've got the new nuts and bolts and washers that came with the kit that go on the top. Now, right now, this is loose because what you're going to do is you're going to release this guy and you're going to tighten it to where the height is just right. So there's some adjustability. You want this guy to be right in the center of that latch, so that way that's not an issue. So I'm going to work on doing that alignment, and once this is aligned to where I like it, kind of right there, I'm going to tighten everything down so it's nice and tight. And that way I can make sure everything is aligned correctly. It's important to get these front doors aligned because you're then going to do the back door and you're going to line the back door for the front door. But so far, again, going together really smooth. I do need to tighten up the little bolts right here. They're holding this guy on. So I'm going to adjust the alignment on that to make sure this isn't hitting once everything's in there. But so far it's looking really good. And then we're going to be able to bolt the skin on here pretty quick, which will be awesome. Okay, so the alignment's looking pretty good. You can see here I can release and it comes out nice and smooth and it closes nice and smooth. So what you want to look for is you want not this U, but this sort of U gap. You want this rod lined up right in the center of this guy, okay? So now you can see that it just latches nice and clean. So again, you're just gonna loosen these two bolts, get that aligned correctly, then torque these guys down, and now you got a nice clean door that closes nice and smooth. All right, so we're ready for a skin. So I'm excited to see how this is gonna look. Pretty cool. All right, guys, we have the front door on. Super happy with this. It's really, really cool. So very, very clean look. A couple things I'll show you. The gap down at the bottom is pretty much non-existent. Really nice and tight, but does not rub in any way. So that is great for keeping mud and dirt and debris out. The door opens and closes really nice. Just slides right open. Latches and locks nice and secure. Now, one thing I'll show you that I did do is there are a couple screws right here which mount your latch. You can adjust this in and out. I've got the latch all the way back in. What this does is allow the door to sit really nice and clean, as you can see there. So it kind of actually drops down. So we go from body, slight drop, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then to the actual door itself. So that helps with a nice, clean stream look. The other thing I'll show you, it's not mentioned in the instructions, but you'll actually see it in the pictures and the instructions, is they provide this little little O-ring gasket, and you cut it in about half, and it just sits. I probably cut it a little too much. It just sits right in here on this little trail, and what that does is when the door closes, it closes a little bit quieter, and it keeps the rattle down. There's really no rattle at all. It's nice and quiet, but really happy with the look of this. The adjustment was pretty easy, really clean. Definitely what I was looking for. So I'm now going to start working on the back door. So I'm going to show you the back door and the process with that. Now the back door will need to get aligned to the front door. So I'll walk you through that process of doing the alignment from the back door and the front door and the installation there. It's going to be pretty similar. We're going to take out the 2 bolts like before. I'm going to use my impact gun because that worked well. Again, if you don't have that, you might need a little heat. And then again, I'm going to drill out the strap here. Now, one thing I will tell you is as you open the door, it kind of touches right here. So it keeps it from swinging all the way open. I think if you pushed hard enough, it could open. So I left the strap on mine. They actually, instructions tell you to drill it out here. I drilled it out on the door instead. You gotta be really careful doing that. But I wanna basically look at attaching it somewhere. This is not quite this hole here was one of his intentions was to use that, Bob said, to doing a limiter strap or something along those lines. So I'm going to come up with some kind of solution that's going to help limit these doors from flying all the way open. Especially the thing I concern myself most with, there's been times where I haven't done it, but my kids have done it, where they've gotten in and the door is just not locked. And we start driving off and that door swings open. I don't want it to swing open and damage the door itself. But I'm going to come up with a game plan for that. I'll show you what I end up doing there. But so far, man, I am really happy with the fit of these. Really clean, looks nice. Keep in mind, these cars vary, so you might have to do a little bit more work than I had to do as far as getting it to line up correctly. That's not the doors. That's going to be your CanAm. So keep that in perspective. So again, let me get on the back door for you, and I'll show you what that looks like. So guys, on the rear doors, unfortunately, they've got rivets holding in the cover that accesses the latches, and I could not get the bottom two. They just kept spinning. I don't have a rivet drill out tool. So what I did is, the top one was pretty easy to get out, so I got the top one out, and then I just put in this little socket here to kind of pry this up, and I ran a really long extension all the way down in there and just screwed them right out. And that worked really well to get those out. So that's a little tip I'll tell you about if you have trouble getting the rivets out. Like I said, the top one's not too bad. The bottom two just want to spin down in the frame like that. So this seemed to work pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this door off the table. We'll get the rear frame on there and get the latch installed there. All right, guys, so for the rear door, we're using the stock pin from the top, which I cleaned up and lubricated. And then also I cleaned up and lubricated the pin that goes up through and put a new nylon washer. I got my 2 new bolts that are now mounted down here. And then this bracket, the rear door slides onto that bracket, and then you're gonna bolt the door to the bracket. So again, this is gonna give you that slide adjustment to get the right clearances you need for the front door. So at this point, now that I got this guy on, I have not tightened these down all the way yet. Again, we wanna have that adjustability option to be able to move it around a little bit if we need to. But we've got everything just kind of mocked up. I'm going to go ahead and install the frame itself and see how it lines up. So the rear, pretty easy so far. It's nice to be able to just put these bolts in the pin. You don't have to sit here and hold the frame. Real easy to install to get started with. So we'll now put the frame on. Okay, so the back door is really easy. You basically just slide the frame right over this portion that you mounted earlier. And then you've got the 4 bolts here. Now these bolts you can loosen and slide everything forward and back. The latch and everything, again, you got to align that latch the same way, where you want to get that U right in the center of this guy. Remember, there is no handle on the rear door. It's just not enough room to accommodate it, which is no problem. So I'm going to put the skin on right now. I just got a few more holes. Really easy, just putting the skin on. So that way I can go through and line all this up correctly. So far, it's actually lining up pretty nice, but I'm going to be able to adjust it to get it just right. So let me finish putting the skin on. We'll check our final adjustment, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so I want to show you the adjustment of the rear doors. So all you have to do is take those 4 bolts and you loosen them up. Once they're loose, what you're able to do is to slide this door forward and backwards. So you can find whatever gap you're looking for here and also in the back. So you can adjust this to what you feel comfortable with. So if you want it really close, I did get it really close and the door still swings, front door swings open without an issue. So you can adjust it to what you prefer as far as making sure the alignment's what you like. But overall, I mean, it lines up really nice. So very, very cool. All right, guys, so I got the back door aligned. Everything went really smooth. It's really nice to have the alignment adjustment on it. I was able to get it really nice and squared off right across here, so it's nice and flat. Also, the gap here is 3/8 of an inch. That is based on Dirt Specialties. That's their recommendation. Now, you could adjust it. I actually brought it out really, really close here, and the front door still swung through without an issue, but it does leave a much bigger gap in the back here. And I agree with him. 3/8 looks really nice. It's pretty balanced looking. So the doors overall just look great. They really set off the vehicle. Definitely cleans up the look. I feel like I get a little bit more protection with this higher level with the flat top door. It's just kind of keeping debris and dirt and things out. Now, these doors do not seal off. You could go through and probably add some material if you wanted to, and I'll kind of show you here. Let me just open the doors. So if you wanted to run like some weather stripping or something around here, you could play around with that and see what you come up with to make it work. Right now, my goal at this point, which I need to kind of figure out, is how I want to do my strap here. I might just actually put another hole through it and just bolt right through here to use this strap. This hole does not quite line up because it would be too much of a gap, but I could go through and put something in there that's nice and flush and clean. The door does not go too far. It sort of starts hitting the body right there, so it's not too much of a problem, but the strap would be nice to make sure it's not pushing hard on the body. But you can see it comes out very, very clean. I really like the upgraded handle. This is really nice. It closes just really nice and clean. You could do the foam. That's something I talked about with Bob a little bit. I'll kind of show you here on the back door since we haven't seen that one yet. There's your back door. So again, we have our factory strap handle for the back door, but all along here, everywhere where you have the metal on metal, if you wanted to add a like some 1/16 inch weather stripping all along that frame underneath, it'd be really easy to do. The skins come off in just a few minutes because it's just a few bolts. It's really easy to do. There's our adjustment. You can see where I ended up. I kind of, some little marks there. I kind of moved it forward and back and played around with it. There's my factory mounts. Again, I didn't tighten these down until I was really happy with the alignment to make sure everything lined up good here. You got to use these bigger washers on there as well, and then you use the factory washers that came with the CanAm underneath the new bolts that they provide. But it gives a nice, really good look. Again, I'll come up with a solution for the limit strap scenario as far as for the door. To make sure it doesn't go too far. A lot of people, these are already broken anyway, but I wanted to try to utilize them, so we'll see what I can come up with, and I'll maybe do that in another video. But if you guys have any questions on the install, feel free to let me know, and I'd be happy to try to help you out. But you can see I've got some tools and things up there, but man, it just really awesome. Look, I can't say enough about how happy I am with these doors. We're going to put them through some real world use here in the next couple weeks. President's Day weekend, we're going to take this thing out to Superstition and bang around a bit and see how these doors work out. But overall, I'm really, really happy. All right, guys, I want to show you the foam process for deadening the sound on the Dirt Specialties full doors. So what I'm using per Dirt Specialties recommendation is 1/16 inch thick, 1/2 inch wide, and it's basically like a rubber foam, and it's got adhesive on the backside. So what I'm doing is I'm running it, if you can see closely, all along all the areas that can touch the metal. Now, what's really cool about this this stuff is the size is perfect to actually put it on the frame. You don't have to put it on the door. That'd be really difficult to line it up. But here you can just kind of follow along. Now, you don't need to do it on the inside because this doesn't touch the door, but every place it touches the door or the skin, you want to basically do that. So we're going to use this to deaden the sound. Guys, before you put on the felt, you want to wipe the frame down really well with isopropyl alcohol. what this is going to do is any debris and material that's on here, it's going to clean that off. And this is going to make sure every place we put the foam, we have a nice clean surface. This is going to make sure the foam sticks. So clean your whole frame before you add your felt. All right, I want to show you guys the difference between the way the door sounds when it's foam and no foam. So we're going to start off with no foam. So I'm going to open the door up, and you can kind of hear how it sounds. Kind of tinny. Over here, we have the foam door. Hear how nice and solid that sounds? So the foam is definitely worth it if you want to get that nice solid feel. All right, guys, as you can see in the picture, here's the finished product. I could not be any happier with these doors. The foam that you put between the frame and the skin is definitely worthwhile. The doors are so nice and quiet now that I got them on all 4 of them. As you can see in the picture, we got a little dirty. We took the CanAm out to Superstition Mountain and ran it pretty heavily over the weekend for President's Day, and the doors performed flawlessly. I am super, super happy with them. I think it's one of the best add-ons I've done to the car. It definitely got a lot of looks. People were checking it out as I was going by. A guy with a brand new 2020 was like, oh, what's that thing? He didn't even realize after I put the doors on it, my roof modification, how different it would look. And he was super excited about it as well. So again, if you guys have any questions on the install, feel free to leave me comments or reach out to me. Also, if you guys get a chance, please subscribe to the channel. That definitely helps us to do more cool projects like this. So that's it. Love the product. Be sure to look up Dirt Specialties. And again, it's dirtspecialties.com. And they can provide you these doors and any extra information you need as well. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the desert season.